Everyone, delighted on this episode of Words, Images, and Worlds to be talking with the very well dressed and also very prolific author Ken Mora. Ken, thank you for jumping in and talking with me.
Oh, well, thank you. And uh, as I said, I took a shower and everything for the interview.
Perfect, perfect.
So we're going a full video and audio. So
That's right. That's right. It's coming through very well, and folks out there will know you for working comics in the world of Caravaggio, and if I'm saying that correctly, as well as Caged Birds. And you were just talking about script writing as well. I know that that's something that you engage with, so very excited to talk about all of those things and more.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I actually start with the screenplay. So that's how I came to plotting out my comics and graphic novels. They're both very visual media, and for both, you kind of have to train yourself out of being in your character's head. So since you're reporting what your reader sees, and then your artist or you as artist are um, then translating that to the page.
Hmm
So all your tells have to be visual, and the way you portray what your character's thinking is by their actions. Um, and some of the fun in that is that you can sneak some visual symbolism in there to sort of symbolize uh, their mood or the atmosphere of the time, or you can kind of if you hear of a setting or a town referred to as almost being a character in a story.
hmm
Um, that's kind of a visual reference. Um, as a novelist, you get to state what a character is feeling or thinking, um, and uh, and to an extent, and you can those rather old style way. You can have your little uh, boxes and giveaways of or narratives where you do that, but um, I think it's kind of uh, even today, for the most part, considered a cheat.
hmm
Um, a lot of people do that for recaps. Like if you have uh, a serialized adventure or you have crossovers, you'll have those at the beginning, and or if a character will come in a crossover series, you'll have little recaps to fill in your series reader on what happened on a crossover time series when that character comes in, just so
hmm
nobody is lost, when they come in. But for the most part, uh, you show, don't tell, and
Yeah.
that's something we have in common with cinema.
Was it a love of film that led you to comics, or was it kind of a more balanced transition than that?
Well, I guess certainly I was exposed to film before I was exposed to comics.
Hmm hmm
As a child, um, I I certainly um, I came to my love of comics after I discovered books. So I guess it would have to be cinema, books, and then comic books.
hmm
Though, of course, you kind of do picture books before you do books. So it's it has actually kind of a stew of exposure there. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
I love how the forms carry over too.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, curious about the particular draw that you have to storytelling. What are the types of stories that kind of grab you the most? I know that Caravaggio, there has to be a good amount of research that goes into that.
Yeah, I love a good hero story.
Hmm
Um, when I when I got into comics in earnest, of course, my first and favorite hero was Spider-Man. For a lot of kids, maybe it was the fact that he was a younger hero and kind of working things out from the ground up while juggling uh, a kid's responsibilities that
Hmm.
we could relate to. Um, and also kind of one foot into the world of adult desires and corruptions and not really understanding, or at least understanding in the most shallow way,
Yeah.
adult desires and wants, um, which kind of which kind of was the whole bailiwick of comic adventure at that time.
Hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
your evil characters were basically one dimensional. True also, in large part across cinema. I mean, we didn't have many Manchurian candidates. Even film noir, which was as psychologically complex as you got in that day. Themes were mostly along the lines of greed,
Hmm.
uh, of course, censorship, limited sex to B plots,
Hmm.
uh, um, and then but and comics the same way. In other visual media, gee, I guess the rise of the supervillain. I'm wondering, maybe maybe Lex Luthor was complex in a way before um, Breaking Bad came out,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, but certainly in uh, cinematic cinematic media, um, things changed after the Breaking Bad series. Um, uh, I mean, really, TV and then movies. Cinema had more complex bad guys, but even cinema was affected by Breaking Bad. I mean, every aspect of the bad guy changed
Hmm.
after Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Um, Everything got pumped up after that, and of course that had its effect on comics and cinema, and of course every TV and streaming platform after that.
Yeah.
Certainly, Game of Thrones and everything became more complex after that. I would dare say politics became more complex after Breaking Bad.
That definitely tracks. That definitely tracks. Yeah.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
mentioned.
I remember after Breaking Bad, the kind of void and letdown um, was only relieved in part by Bridgegate
Hmm.
and Chris Christie, and just like following that and just saying, oh, this comes close to some of that. I mean, it's real life, and so there's not as much, murder and mayhem, but that shenanigans like this actually happen. is fascinating,
Hmm.
and it's not fiction, so it's not uh, and there's almost an absurd Veep like vibe to it.
Hmm.
In that these broad-faced lies could come on television, and politicians could at least locally expect to get away with these broad-faced lies, at least in a separate political reality where between elections people had to deal with it. You know, I mean, Chris Christie's reelection, or you would have to wait till the opportunity to not vote for Chris Christie
Hmm.
because no one was going to impeach him at that time. So your ballot box was the only option, and so you just had to live with it. And his, self-appointed uh, commission that would absolve him of things that was just out there in the open, that was obvious, and his lackeys paying the penalty while the guy at the top, goes away scot-free.
Hmm.
And we had a bit of that in um, Iran Contra,
Hmm.
but that was kind of laid out in front that in exchange for immunity
Right, right.
and exposing us to the truth, uh, that the people would be allowed to escape in order to expose us to the horrible, ugly underbelly of politics and behind the scenes chicanery.
Yeah.
Um, and in this case, as time would prove, that maybe that stemmed the tide, but I mean, Bridgegate still happened,
Right.
and then and as we were to find out later, worse happened. Uh, but then when in Trump's first term, that's why I was so eager to get the graphic novel version of the first impeachment trial,
Hmm.
because I was thinking, here's something taken from uh, real life. I mean, the transcripts of the first impeachment trial. And I'm going, this is such a practical way of reaching a mass audience. I mean,
Hmm.
and for future generations to come, um, of teaching high school kids in a medium that they can uh, totally and eagerly relate to,
Hmm.
especially 3, 4 generations down the line, when you can look back at this period with the nostalgia that doesn't give you so much agita. You know,
Hmm.
you can go and say, "Oh, it's wow," it's just like. Uh, I remember reading about the eras of Boss Hogg and Teapot Dome,
Hmm.
which I scarcely remember the particulars of now. But back then, reading, it's just like, wow, it's just kind of weird. This was like the time of like uh, the doorstep of the modern era, but kind of like the wild, wild west, but
Hmm.
still the burgeoning modern era. Uh, Boy, so glad we don't live in those times now, where
Yeah.
that can't happen.
Right, right.
And then here we are, and then it's just like, how retrograde can we get? And we're at a time in our democracy where we're looking at the ugliest possible side of that question. It's just like, how retrograde can we get in our nation's history?
Hmm.
And So when I look at historical novels, um, it makes me think of where we are in our history.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I would like to be able to start chronicling these times, but it hurts too much.
Yeah.
It's easier to look back at the time of Caravaggio and go, "Oh, you just these are the challenges that somebody who is not sexual orientation normative would have, who still has drive and ambition and still wants to have their art serve the popular masses and bring a hello institution whose goal is to bring love and compassion to real people. Um, this is what this is what the saints' life are. You know, you want to know what the saints had to go through. Uh, Let me pull the derelicts off the streets
Hmm.
and show you what sacrifice was like. Uh, you want to know what sacrifice was like. Uh, I'm going to show you uh, a drunk man, a ruined man, uh, and show him crucified. And so you want to know what God called this guy to do.
Hmm.
Um, and you want your parishioners to know what little their tithes mean in comparison to that.
Hmm.
Well, this is what it means. And by the way, um, what are you sacrificing?
Hmm.
Why is the Reformation going on anyway? You want
Yeah.
to counter the Reformation. Uh, what does sacrifice mean to you in your, you know, holy robes investments? So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Interesting
it was
questions.
quite a subversive statement, all in visual symbology. I mean, it just it it in all the subversive symbolism that graphic storytelling brings to bear.
Yeah.
Um, and, you know, and as he's seeking the patronage and shelter of the church, he's also trying his best to subvert that, and he's got to protect himself from that, and he doesn't handle it very well. You
Hmm.
know, I mean, he lives a short life and a tragic one, and so uh, uh, when I uh, I went to USC, you know, not a film school, ironically, to study fine arts
Yeah.
and painting techniques, where I first fell in love with the painting techniques of Caravaggio,
Hmm.
and I discovered all the holes in his biography because there are more criminal records than there are uh, records of sales of his artwork.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's something you got to investigate. And when I thought, wow, you know, this is someone's got to do a cinematic treatment of this. I mean, I'm a big fan of the movies. I'd love to see some form of treatment of this. And I had been out of comic books for quite a while. I mean, still had the dregs of a once mighty comic book collection. I was very big collection. I once owned the complete run of Spider-Man, including Amazing Fantasy 15.
Hmm.
Um, Up until I think Spider-Man 215,
Nice.
215, 220. and and I was I was pretty insistent about getting near mint or better copies of everything. So I had a near mint 15. I had uh, I had a super high grade near mint Spider-Man 1.
Mm-hmm.
Um, God, you know, at some point, you think, because I mean, all these long boxes
Right.
for for even a teenager, they become cumbersome. And
Mm-hmm.
they're going to be worth a lot someday. And as a teenager, a lot is different than when you're 30, 40 years old or ancient like I am. So, you know, at some point it becomes too tempting to to not sell. But you
Yeah.
um but I still, I still have a good a few golden things. Anyway, uh so uh one of the my fellow students, when I went back in my late life art degree, said, "Oh, there's an excellent biography by Derek Jarman," and I didn't know. I'd never heard of Derek Jarman or Caravaggio biography, and so I went out of my way to was it Vidiot's, I think, in Santa Monica. There was a store that specialized in foreign and really hard to get videotapes at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so I rented it, and I think I got as far as 20 minutes into it, and the pace was just so doggedly slow. And since then, I've tried a couple times to like get into it, and people say, "Oh, near the end, there's this scene where he's just like running through this wheat field and trying to get to the boat," and I'm going, it's just like, if you have to, uh, as a film fan, if you have to wait till 10 minutes before the end of the film to engage an audience, I think it's a little long.
True.
This is
True.
this is a story worthy of Lust for Life and Cyrano de Bergerac and Jose Ferrer's Moulin Rouge. It's just like,
Mm.
this is that kind of epic thing. And so so damn it, somebody's got to write that kind of treatment for
Mm-hmm.
this. And so there I am at USC, uh, and I had transferred in from Santa Monica College. I had 2 years to complete this degree. When you transfer over for your final 2 years, they never get the credit calculus right.
Right.
So
Right.
it turns out I have to take a 17 unit load.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I have no time for a screenwriting class, but there I am at USC. So I talk to screenwriting students and I go, you've been through it, and it's just like, just tell me the best books. So you've taken the classes. What are the meaty books?
Mm-hmm.
You've taken it, and if I had to do over again, what is the book that would have? And so, uh, and a couple people said, "Oh, it's Sid Field. Forget it. Just to do the Sid Field." So I did the Sid Field, and I struggled through it, and I just and I just got cruised. I struggled through it. I got the basics. By the way, if someone were to ask me that question, it wouldn't be Sid Field. But so I got the basics. I got a not final draft, but at the at that time rival to it, and I just started tinkering around and uh, made like got through like 100, no, a 210 page draft, which is way too long. Uh, I paid at that time $150 for screenplay consultant, and she was very nice and diplomatic, and of course it's my first baby, and so I only had eyes for the complimentary things she said. Uh, and I went back and so I worked on the notes, and then I think I knocked off like 20 pages, and then I had real world things to do. I didn't have time to really, so I finished my degree and stuff like that, and I came back, and then I tried doing the gallery thing for a year. At that time, the Berman Gallery in Santa Monica uh, sponsored artists, and they had some interest in my portfolio. And my instructor said, what they're really looking at is, you come back next year and you have more original art, and then they know you're serious. You
Mhm.
know? So the next year came, and I didn't have more original art, and that's how I knew that you know I wasn't going to be a painter.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and uh, my wife and I had our first child, and I had to go back to the real world, and I found myself back. I found myself in e-commerce, which was kind of satisfied my computer programming, data-driven life, and my art director life, plus my new skills. And it was the wild, wild west of web development and stuff. Uh, but I always had the screenplay in it because now my inner writer was waking up.
Yeah.
And so I would picked up this thing, and I kept, and then I found the books I wish I had when I started. And that was Vicky King's uh, How to Write a Movie in 21 Days,
Mhm. Mhm.
which, if you're a fan of really quick, no nonsense, how to get down to the shit books, that one
Yeah.
was it. Okay. And then the actual screenplays of William Goldman.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then I go, oh, that's what it's everything on these pages is what you see on the screen.
Yeah.
There's no, it doesn't take forever to tell you what's on the screen. It's just like there are no there are no vivid details of the atmosphere. Just like the scene heading is just the place and telling
Mhm.
the lighting crew what they need to know. They're just like, oh, I see it. Just like so. Then I went through my script, and then so I got into that. So that, and then how not to write a screenplay uh, was invaluable. So now I knew, and then finally Save the Cat, and then the topper was the secrets of William Martell's The Secrets of Action Screenwriting,
Mhm.
which
Mhm.
is should be just the secrets of screenwriting. Just like, uh, and then I was unleashed, and then uh, the Caravaggio script. I once started, winning screenplay contests. And I remember the first screenplay contest I went to. I went with my wife, and it's just like, the third place goes to, and they read it, and it's just like, and second place goes to, and just like, well, it was nice, it was nice just to be nominated,
Mhm.
and then the first place goes to, and it's just like, and I turn to my wife, and I go, no, it wasn't, and then she goes, go ahead, honey, and I go, no, they didn't say, and it was me, it was Carla. And I go, so I go up there, and it's just like, wow, it's just I won, and it's just like, so and then I kept winning these things, and I thought, oh wow, it's just like, and that was a huge ego boost.
Mhm.
It 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 didn't. I mean, okay, it did get me an agent, a small time agent. It did get me a film option.
Hmm.
You know, not complaining. I mean, it didn't actually do anything for my film career except make me quit my day job
Yep.
because after that point, uh, I would go to my coding job and I would in e-commerce and my eyes, and this should have been a clue to my mental disability, which I'll get to. Uh, my eyes would literally roll off the screen,
Mm-hmm.
and I had no idea. This was the first time my mind had ever abandoned me, and it was scary because, um, for all its failings, my gray matter is the thing I have always fallen back on. You know, and I'd never had it rebel against me. It just like it's always like in my life, it's just like, oh, I fucked that up, but I'll think of something.
Right, right.
And then this was like the best paying gig I'd ever had. Uh, my wife, God bless her, she was a junior attorney in a law firm, and she had just decided to strike out on her own because I had been making the best money I had been making, and so we had the baby, and I had been coming in. This was the days of uh, entrepreneurs, and people were expected to work for pizza and almost no money and 80 hours a week
Hmm.
and not bitch and complain. And in exchange, you got pizza, and they had facilities. They were like gyms on facility. They had like uh, so there were perks, and uh, if you donate to your IRA, they would match up to 7% of your donations, and I maxed that out, and we had condo payments, and it's just like you know kids are expensive. It's just like so we had all this going on, and then suddenly I found myself unable to look at a computer screen, and that's pretty important when you're developing e-commerce.
Hmm.
And so I go to my wife, and then the blood drive truck came around. I always took pride in donating blood every time, and they said, it just why don't you go lay down because it's just, your blood pressure is a little high. We can't do it. Just why don't you? And I just couldn't donate blood that day because my blood pressure was just like way high.
Hmm.
Um, and then it's just like went to the doctor, and it's like there were problems, and it's I talked to my wife, and I confessed my brain was just like not working, and she said, honey, you're doing good with the writing, and it's just like you got the option, and maybe you should just like concentrate on that, and it's just like and the option was about to run out, and there were no other meetings happening at that time. Honey, it's just like the art thing didn't work out. It's just baby. She's like this, and she goes, just want to. I'm a lawyer, and it's just like I'm new at this, but things are going along okay, and we can float this for a couple months. So anyway, we did that, and I'm working on and I just finished my second screenplay, and and competitions uh, on that are going good, and I'm getting into film festivals at least. Anyway, yes, so I'm rambling on. Okay. Anyway, my wife, God bless her, over the years, her business is doing fantastic, and I am doing great in the film fest competitions, which means absolutely butkus income wise. And uh, yeah, I'm really enjoying the writing. This I can say. I'm really enjoying the writing. It's just like uh, my first thing was a swashbuckling drama. My second was a parody of Dirty Harry films.
Hmm.
I mean, total slapstick, like airplane. You know, and because of the writers group, I found and joined. Um, I had some great uh, mentors there, and they said, you're going to go for this kind of writing. It's a last minute script, and I'm going, okay, all right. So it's a lot of pressure. But he
Hmm.
goes, no, 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 kid. They didn't say that, but that was the attitude. No, no, no. You have a last minute script. That means each page is 1 minute. Last minute script, you need one laugh every minute. You have to have three jokes on a page because one of them has to land, and you don't know which one of those three is going to land.
Hmm.
And that has to happen for every one of your at least 90-minute pages. And that's pressure.
Definitely. Yeah.
And no two audiences are alike. So you got to have three solid jokes every page. Yeah. So, because a funny thing, or talking about comedy, a funny thing happens. So now you give a script to somebody,
Hmm.
particularly this script, and sometimes you give a script to somebody, and they're smiling and they're flipping pages, and then they get it. And then sometimes you hand a script to somebody, and they go, "Oh, you must have had a lot of fun. You must have had a lot of fun writing this." And
Hmm.
it's like in art, when somebody looks at your art and you go, "Wow, that's a really good frame." Uh, so,
Right, right.
you know, so you never know if your stuff is good or not. Uh, so on a comedy in particular, you have to have a read through, and you have to have actors acting it, and you have to have the writers who are going to critique it listen to it.
Hmm.
Um, because you can't have them read and then critique it because you have to have uh, the writing mind critique and then just reacting to it. So uh, I had the actors read and I recorded the whole thing and I had a really good critique sheet and then I had them fill it out there and then take it home,
Hmm.
sit on it and email and then sent back. Uh, and so the reading went along, and God bless these. This is why I love actors, uh, because they really gave it a tremendous read,
Hmm.
and right from the get go, they were rolling with it, and it was a raucous read,
Hmm.
and people were laughing, and they were, I mean, they were rolling, and I was floating out of that read. And then the end came, and then there was critique, and then it was actually a little, it took me down a little bit because there was some actual solid pointers in there. And they go,
Hmm.
well, this it was a little fluffy, it was silly, but it was off point. It took me out of the story, and just like so that there was a few things like that, and some things I go, oh, they just don't get it. But then you hear the same critique two, three times, and you go, oh, it's not them, it's me.
Right.
So all the harsh things that when you get a good critique group, uh, you really value because it's just like I've been in critique groups where everybody's really polite
Hmm.
and you never get the real stuff. And that's
Right.
why when I go to a critique group, I give people the real stuff, and when I offend them, I say, I'm sorry, but this is this is the style of critique I appreciate when I hear it, and so it's the only kind of critique I give. And so I'm not here to offend, and so I can't attend if you're not ready for it. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
if you ever are, here's my card. so,
Hmm.
uh, and so anyway, I made a short film adaptation, and that also did well in awards. Again, going to film festivals. Sometimes it was pretty silent.
Hmm.
Sometimes I got good laughs. Won a couple of awards. Totally blanked. Another film festival is just like, wow, this comedy thing. It's freakier than other kinds of film.
Yeah.
Um, so it's still, I still want to make the movie someday, but it's just I'm not I can't edit it myself because the short I edited myself. So no, I'm gonna have to good comedy editor.
Hmm.
Um, I will storyboard the whole thing myself. So there's something, and I do have issue one uh, as a comic. Um, I got it mostly colored. I think I will lay out the whole thing as a 6 issue comic. For me, except for like Bone, which I think does really well as a comic book,
Hmm.
uh, and I laugh at it. For me, I don't laugh much at uh, the funnies as
Hmm.
comics.
Yeah. I get that.
Just typically doesn't one panels and stuff like that, like Lonnie Millsap's stuff and Bob the Angry Flower. A couple of friends of mine, some of Keith Knight's stuff. Hilarious and also politically punchy
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
stuff. Uh, uh, these guys I really respect because that's like Lalo Alcaraz, La Cucaracha, just like political and bitey stuff. It's uh, I really admire that you can do in one panel that what I have to do in a story.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, but so there's a definite art to it, and the people who specialize in it, total kudos, total props. Uh, for me, it was almost kind of an exercise, a dare, just like could I do that?
Hmm.
And for me to specialize in that would be a total strain. So so uh, it would be something I could do every once in a while. Uh, my friend Jim Luhan, who does who's an animator and does short animation. He does character driven animation, and it's just kind of it's a loving parody of people types, and he would be a great uh, comic book artist.
Hmm.
And I've mentioned this to him, and other people have, and he goes, the thing is, the amount of time uh, it would take to put a comic book, I could do an animation. And I could see, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a good argument. Uh, I think you should do both, but but it's a good point. And Bill Plimpton, the same thing. He's done some graphic novel adaptations of his films.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, I mean they both take a while. Uh,
And
uh,
any
it,
no, go
it,
ahead.
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Anyway, so getting back to the graphic novel. So yes, I do plan to do, and then Caged Birds, also an adaptation of my third screenplay. I've got Ms. Valkyrie. I've actually got like the number one colored lettered everything in the can. Um, I kind of want to have the first four issues done that way before I release, so that I can do one, two, three, four, and then graphic novel, and have that kind of release timing pace, so that I can have the next, four or five,
Mm.
uh, uh, you know, four through eight, and then graphic novel. Uh, and that's ultimately the kind of pace I want to have, and that's why I've got this queue backed up, and that's
Hmm.
what I haven't had a second one. Uh, so in a sense, when you say prolific, uh, you wouldn't know it from from looking me up on Amazon or my website. But yeah, I have this constipated queue of stuff. Uh, and then, the lowest hanging fruit is uh, were all my translations, because Caravaggio, naturally, the Italian version, is due, and that will be coming out at Comic Con Napoli 25, which is May 1st.
Nice, nice.
Finally, and I've been waiting forever for an Italian distributor. Finally got one, and I've had the English territory, sold, and that's available everywhere, and through Amazon. And I self-published for 6 months, and then Marcosio UK picked that up, and so the English has been out there for a while. And I've
Nice.
got 60 plus reviews on Amazon, which puts me out of ahead of my very friendly rival, who probably doesn't even know I exist, but the legendary Milo Manara,
Oh, uh-huh,
uh,
uh-huh.
the Italian legendary comic book artist. Um, and I've maintained a 4.8 rating over those 60 plus reviews.
Nice,
Um,
nice.
I have lately I've been having this big push, and I've been out there conscious conscientiously reviewing more myself, because it's the hardest thing in the world
Mm.
when people say, "Oh, I love your book," and I go, "Hey, have you reviewed it?" So, "Oh yeah, yeah, I've been meaning to get to it." It's the hardest thing in the world. Even close friends of mine, it's just like, is it? And and when they do, and I see their star rating, I'm so grateful, and the verified is missing, and I know they've bought it, because they told me, and
Mhm.
and I've asked them, it's kind of rude, but subtly, it's like, you bought that, right? You didn't buy it used, you bought it, and they go, "Oh yeah, yeah," and but there's no verified, and so I said, "Could I hate to bother you, but could you write Amazon and ask for the verified label, because it helps me in the rankings?" And it's a pain in the ass enough to ask them to star it, much less review it,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
then go back and find the Amazon, "Hey, would you mind giving me the verified thing?" Which is a pain in the ass,
Yeah. Yeah.
to ask them to do that. Uh, and then eventually it shows up. But I'm getting all these non-verified reviews, and I'm going, I know damn well some of them, at least
Oh, I might be losing
some
you.
of them should be verified. And I've written Amazon. I said, could you kind of audit these last few? And they go, no, they have to write us that. And what am I going to do? I'm not. Do I research who these people are and ask them to write Amazon? I'm going to do that anyway. Well, so maybe if people are watching your show and they've reviewed it, or they're going to, they will go to the trouble of doing it. But it's not likely.
Hopefully so. Hopefully so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so now I've done my annoying to my only consolation is that, and I've queued it on my uh, to be watched list, is that I see you've interviewed Dave Baker,
Yes.
and,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and if there's any other person in this world who's windier than I am, it's got to be Dave Baker. So I'm hoping I'm hoping I'm not the person you've had to edit more.
No,
That
no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I am curious in your process if there's a particular part of the writing process that you especially enjoy or get inspired by.
Um, it's just when I'm in the groove, which I happen to be now.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
because I do the MacArthur approach. I island hop. Uh, and when you go to if when you go to like a UCLA extension, or you do writers boot camp, stuff like that, uh, they they do their best to turn it into a day job and
Hmm.
formalize it, and prepare you for the writer's room and being led by a showrunner, and really kill it as much as humanly possible.
Yeah.
And I could never do that. Uh, I, I may have the idea for a beginning or an ending, or that place in the middle where you know uh, things kind of drag, but I have that twist that'll get things going.
Hmm.
I may just have a touching moment. I may have a vague lighting inspired thing, and that's the thing I have to get down on paper, or electronic paper or whatever. The thing I have to anchor, and I don't know where it is. I don't know how it connects to anything, and I've got to do this little piece and that little piece, kind of vaguely order it, and then maybe I've got a really detailed scene, or I've got an absurd piece of dialogue between two people, and I go, whoa, hold on. Okay, let me make an outline and see where this could possibly fit. And okay, don't quite get it. And then I go, oh, here's a possible name for the thing. And then,
Uh-huh.
and then so I've got this whole mess. And then, I've got this whole dust bunny here that looks vaguely zoomorphic. Uh, and then slowly, things start coalescing, and then at some point I got, okay, it's just like, no, you got to clean your room, put things in order, and then the shapes start to go, and then uh scenes call for fleshing out, and then
Hmm.
structure demands to happen, and then it starts to get together, and then okay, now this demands to be done, and then I go, oh, these two characters serve the same function, they got to be the same person, pain in the ass, got consolidated. Then so it's very sloppy process. I would
Yeah.
not condemn someone to do things the way I do, but it's the way I do it. And by the way, just this last year, and my wife has been hinting at it for years that I should get this looked at. But just this last year, I was uh, roughly diagnosed as ADHD, which my
Hmm.
wife has been joking at me for the past few years. And she just got, in addition to being, uh, if I may brag on my wife,
Absolutely.
according to LA Magazine, one of LA's top 500 super lawyers for the past few years running.
Very
Uh,
nice.
yeah, so she done okay,
Yeah.
and I done okay. I I married well, so which is why I get to fuck around the way I do. Uh, uh, so So for the past few years, she's gotten her LMFT license, which I'll remember what that stands for in a minute. But a psychological degree, and she's
Mm-hmm.
saying, you might you you might investigate whether you have something on the spectrum in the ADHD area. And I'm going, ha 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 ha, you're so funny. But yeah, I have ADHD, and now that I'm on Adderall, which I can take for a few days running, and then I have to come off for a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it really does help me uh, organize and prioritize and get down to focusing on one thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it helps me uh, unscatter and not feel guilty about uh, not getting to everything at once.
The power of a creative mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I get to herd my cats a little bit. Yeah.
You mentioned that your work is out on Amazon, but any other places where you would want people to go and find out more about you?
Oh yes. Pardon my dust, but kenmora.com
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
is finally getting going over. It's in phase 2 of construction. Uh, so phase 3, which will be done uh, mid-April, hopefully in time to be ready by May 1st, the opening of the start of Comic-Con Napoli 25,
Mm-hmm.
which will have links to uh, both Caravaggio, English and Italian, and hopefully have a lot of my bio and all stuff in English and Italian. And because of my heritage, also Spanish, cross fingers. Uh, so that's the goal, and have an e-commerce shop and stuff like that. And also, speaking of ratings and stuff like that, I want to be able to, if you go the extra and give me a star rating and a review, or anywhere, or give me a good social media shout out or something. I'll work out the specifics. But if you go that extra, uh, and I want you to be able to go to my website and click a button and say, hey, here's my thing I did,
Mm-hmm.
just to let people know that I like your stuff. And, what you rate, that's up to you. I'm not one of those Uber drivers that say, hey, give me 5 stars. It's up to
Right.
you. You
Right.
know, what you think is a good rating is just like whatever. And if you think my stuff sucks, you're not going to be asking me for anything anyway. So, but if you went that extra and you want uh, an autographed book plate, and you can't make it to Napoli or San Diego or wherever I'm going to be, or New York, wherever I'm going to be showing, if I have the time to show, or any bookstore or library, then you deserve an autograph plate that I will mail to you at my expense, and you can stick it on your book. And Cyrus Masarcia, who does the beautiful art, and yes, I have a BFA from which is a big effing art degree from
Right.
USC Roski School of Fine Arts, but I can't do production work like a professional comic book artist, which Cyrus Masarcia definitely is. Uh, and his work is so beautiful. I couldn't hire an inker to ink over his stuff. I just
Mm.
like, you know, we're just going to go straight to color over pencils
Love it.
on
Love it.
this,
Yeah.
because I drawing really, I love painting, but drawing is my first love. And I'm going, you just can't get better than that. It's just too pretty. You just color on pencil right there. So uh, if you look at the previews on Amazon, you'll see what I'm talking about. So it's like beautiful colors on gorgeous pencils. Um, and so Cyrus and I will hand autograph you the plate that you stick on your book as a thank you for going the extra to
Very nice. Very nice. Love the engagement.
shout me out. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And
I will probably take you up on that.
uh, well, bless you, sir.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Ken, it's been a wonderful chat, and I appreciate the story, the pathway, and all of the creative decisions that you've made to share over the years. Anything that we've missed that you want to make sure to share before we close out?
Um, uh, if I can shout out my friends, yeah, I mentioned Dave Baker,
Hmm.
who all respect to Jeff Lemire, who absolutely deserves any kudos he gets uh, for Everyone is Tulip. I
Mm.
was truly expecting him to take home the Eisner in 23.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It's a
sure,
great book. Yeah.
sure, Jeff absolutely deserved anything he got for I think it was Sweet Tooth that year. Was it
Hmm.
Sweet Tooth that year? Yeah, I mean, no doubt. But um, for its time, uh, Everyone is Tulip. I just absolutely nailed it.
Absolutely.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think is he nominated already? I don't know if nomination, but he's up there. He's got to be shortlisted. He's been nominated for tons of other things for um, Mary Tyler
Moorhawk. Yeah.
Moorhawk. Yes,
That's a cool
uh,
one. Yeah. Yeah.
and,
Very
and
interesting
the
stuff.
previous one. God, I wish I had a memory. Anyway, uh, Dave Baker deserves a shout out. Jim Lujan, a huge fan of his. His shorts deserve a shout out. Bill Plimpton, forever legend in animation. Uh, Sinya Bauman, who I have had the honor of accepting her Film Thread Award for her because she couldn't make it out to the West Coast just 2 weeks ago last Sunday for My Love Affair with Marriage, raising money for the third in that animated series.
Mhm.
Uh, Made the short list for the Oscars last year. Didn't get in the the tier right before nominations. Uh, and Amazing female animator and producer and director. Um, God, now I'm not mentioning everybody, which I should, but I've been like privileged to know some really fantastic people, and you know, uh, my advice to aspiring um, writers is do participate in competitions and festivals because
Mhm.
no, you're not going to write. You're not going to meet the publisher or producer or whatever that's going to recognize you out of the sea of talented people. But what you're going to meet is uh, your talented peers
Mhm. Mhm.
who are
The
going to
community.
energize you, yeah, and push you to do greater things. And really, the awesome people you meet, and then when they come up and you go, "Hey, I know that man," or I had lunch with them last week.
Yeah.
It's just like the ego boo and the drive it gives you to also do that stuff. It's just like, wow,
Yeah.
it's amazing. And by the way, I can't talk about the thing I'm doing now, and
Hmm.
it does no good because it jinxes it. I swear it does. But the amazing thing I'm doing now is because I met this person in a film festival in 2009, and the script I'm going to get this in front of, I can only do because I met him
Mm,
in a fest in that fest, and we just happened to knock around together. Just
nice.
you uh, you know, and, it's not what you know, it's who you know. It's a combination.
Hmm.
You got to have the goods, and the people you know have to like you enough to stick their neck out for you. And you know, you got that combination, and you know, magic happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes it happens when you're about ready to retire and just you know, stare at the sea the rest of your life. But
Hmm.
you know, eventually happen.
Nice. Nice. Well said. Very well said. Well, as I mentioned, glad to talk with you, and it is an open invitation if you want to come back and talk about the awesome, as of yet unnamed thing that you're working on at some point in the future. That would be fantastic as well.
All right. Well, if it happens, that's a definite. And if it doesn't, then the next thing I publish, it's a definite.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Wonderful.
All right.
Glad to be in touch and many, many thanks.
All right. Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.